After a rather comprehensive win over Paris Saint Germain, Manchester City have qualified for the final of the Champions League. This is the first time they've gotten this far in this competition, and you can't belittle the club's fans for dreaming big. Today, we're going to try and focus more on how City reached the Champions League final, but we also have a few news stories to discuss. So how about you sit tight, subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell icon. Arsenal eyeing bargain deal. Next season, Arsenal are unlikely to play in Europe. They're 9th in the league standings, are already out of the Europa League, and if you look at the table, you can't bet on Mikel Arteta's men to climb that far. However, the club will still need to invest heavily in the summer if they're to avoid another poor campaign. Arteta might be safe for now, but the Spanish tactician needs to be supported massively by the club's ownership and technical director Edu. The team lacks leaders on the pitch, as evidenced by that horrendous display against Villarreal in the second leg of the semi-final of the Europa League. While Bernd Leno has proven to be a solid performer, Arsenal can't rely on the German shot stopper to bail them out all the time. Plus, a bit more competition right now might even improve the former Bayer Leverkusen man's performances. Arsenal are interested in signing Ajax goalkeeper Andre Onana this summer, but will wait for the verdict in his upcoming appeal against a doping ban before deciding to step up their interest. Onana is currently serving a 12-month suspension handed to him by UEFA after he was found to have the banned substance furosemide in his urine sample. The Cameroonian is fighting against the ban, and the Court of Arbitration for Sport will hear his appeal in early June. The player's lawyers believe that the ban could be reduced to 8 months, and if that happens, the Ajax man could be looking to leave the Eredivisie. Arsenal have reportedly been interested in the talented keeper for a number of months and feel that he would prove to be more than just Leno's deputy. Onana, meanwhile, would be hoping for the verdict to go in his favour. At present, the player has been unable to even train with Ajax and is working with his own personal goalkeeping coach to ensure that he's fit when the time comes. The Londoners would definitely want to make their move once things are clear enough, and maybe Onana would end up displacing Leno. Halfhearted apology from the Glazers. Joel Glazer has responded to an open letter from Manchester United supporter representatives, agreeing to look into fan ownership of the club and investing money into improving Old Trafford. In a letter sent following protests ahead of the game against Liverpool, Malcolm Glazer has actually apologised on the club's behalf for the part they played in the creation of the European Super League, and has admitted that they need to be better listeners. Indeed, one of the clearest lessons of the past few weeks is the need for us to become better listeners. To this end, I can commit the club will engage across all of the issues raised in your letter. The letter comes after rumours started circulating that Manchester United fans are set to hold another protest ahead of the rescheduled Liverpool game. The club can't afford to have another game postponed, as they have a really tight schedule already due to last week's protests. Do you remember which year the Glazers purchased Manchester United? So what do we have to say about it? To be honest, the Glazers have been forced into apologising for their actions, but if you manage to read the entire letter, it still seems like a half-cooked attempt at appeasing a disgruntled fan base. At the same time, more than the owners, the playing staff will be impacted more severely if the upcoming protests turn ugly again. United's Champions League fixture isn't assured yet, and with fixtures already piling up, fans should make sure that they don't get carried away like they did last time around. A rare move. Imagine that you're one of the best players in a top 5 European league and at the prime of your career. Granted, you're not playing for a top European club, you still have a chance to make a big move. However, you end up deciding to take your career into a completely different region. France international Florian Thauvin was at the height of his powers at Olympique de Marseille. The 28-year-old forward is one of the most mercurial talents in Ligue 1. With his contract set to expire, the Frenchman was expected to make a bigger move. However, no one in their wildest dreams expected him to move to the Mexican League, where he signed a 5-year deal with Tigres, the same team that signed André Pierre Gignac from Marseille in 2015. This is a huge coup for the Mexican Giants, since Thauvin was hotly linked with moves to Italy or the Premier League. Thauvin has achieved plenty of success during his time at Marseille, who he joined in 2013. The winger moved to Newcastle in 2015, but failed to reach the heights that he had in Ligue 1. After a year and a half in England, he returned to Marseille. With his contract set to expire at the end of this season, Thauvin was linked with Aston Villa, Crystal Palace and Leicester, in addition to Milan. But the 10-time France international instead decided on a new challenge in Mexico. Manchester City spend big and reach the finals. The Abu Dhabi group has been literally pouring money into Manchester City. The moment they bought the club, the owners knew that they could transform it into a genuine powerhouse. Slowly but surely, the citizens continued performing well, and eventually they won their first Premier League title. We all remember that goal scored by Aguero. That goal meant so much more than just a title win. It was City announcing themselves as the next powerhouse of English football. No longer would they be the unwanted, nosy neighbours of Manchester. After decades of being looked down on, City were the envy of England and beyond, buying any player they wanted thanks to their cash-laden owners. Since the takeover, City have spent €2.016 billion on players. In 10 different seasons, they've spent over €100 million, and after years of investing, they're finally close to becoming European champions. They did that by dismantling Paris Saint Germain, another team that relied heavily on cash-laden owners. City, however, have been more systematic in their approach. They first signed Robinho from Real Madrid. It was an experiment that failed on a sporting level, but at the same time showed that City had the quality to attract the best players in the business. A few years later, they won the league title, their first one since 1968. 3 more titles arrived and a 4th is on its way. They've won 2 FA Cups, 6 League Cups and 3 Community Shields. However, it's continental success that's eluded them thus far. Even the arrival of Pep Guardiola wasn't enough. The Spanish tactician won the title twice with Barcelona, but has struggled on the European front. For one reason or another, Manchester City choked and crashed out, but not this time around. Boasting enough experience and knowing how to manage games better, Manchester City were the best side in both legs of the semi-final against PSG. The French giants would say that they dominated, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Throughout the 180 minutes, Manchester City were far more mature in their approach and knew when to speed things up and when to curb their enthusiasm. Who was the PSG manager when they reached the final of the Champions League? Of course, the mission hasn't been accomplished just yet. For City, Guardiola, Soriano and the club's benefactor Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan, they need to beat Chelsea in Istanbul next month to win the competition. City have never played a game of this magnitude, while Chelsea are playing their 3rd final. Guardiola hasn't reached a Champions League final since 2011, and the Catalonia would really want to end the barren run. Away from the field, City's the same club that was initially banned from this season's Champions League by UEFA for breaking financial fair play. They successfully overturned the ban, so if they lift the trophy this May, it would be quite a triumph. A lot of people would say that teams such as City and PSG have it easy, winning the competition due to cash-rich owners. Some might say that this couldn't be further from the truth. We believe those arguments make sense.
We have a lot of money to buy a lot of incredible players.
There are no fairy tales in the Champions League. Gone are the days when the likes of Dinamo Zagreb and Nottingham would win the title without investing heavily on the best players on the planet. Football's become much more complicated than that. When FC Porto managed to win the title all those years ago, it was seen as a triumph of the little guy. However, the Portuguese side's triumph represents an anomaly and should be treated as such. If you're a football club that aspires to dominate football, the only formula is to spend loads of money. Real Madrid did that, Liverpool did the same thing, and many clubs before them also spent lots on big names to win Europe. But at the same time, we also need to recognise the fact that spending money is only a part of the whole deal. You can't hope to achieve greatness by relying on a big transfer spend. You need to instill the right philosophy, and you should trust the guy you put in charge. City trusted Guardiola to get the job done, even though the former Barcelona man had his fair share of tribulations to deal with. Eventually though, he was able to assemble the right squad that understood his footballing philosophy. Discounting City's astonishing feat just because they spend close to €2 billion on players to make it to the final doesn't cover the entire story. They worked hard for it and kept learning from every setback. That experience, combined with excellent management of the club, is the reason why Guardiola's side are set to face Chelsea in the final of the most prestigious club competition in the world. It might not be a David versus Goliath story or a battling against all the odds kind of storyline, but the manner in which they reach the final of a competition where they haven't lost a single game in this season should be appreciated. What do you think about City's achievement? Was it all just the money, or were they really that good? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section, and make sure to subscribe to our channel as we look to continue discussing Champions League football more often in the coming weeks.